B2B Cambodia, the portal for business use in Cambodia.
So you've already kind of mentioned in great extent about the workforce here and how it's attractive, largely because it is a growing workforce in comparison to neighboring countries. So that is, of course, something that foreign investors will be assessing when they try to come here into the market. So if you had to assess the kind of available skill set that's here in the workforce, what do you think is perhaps like the highlights, here in Cambodia, what is available? And then what do you think is missing and could be further developed?
So the issues with the education system here, which goes back to the Civil War, so it's long-standing, has meant that the skill gap here, it is a major issue. It's a very real issue. But the passion for learning and the willingness to learn for the young Cambodians is absolutely first class. So if you give them the opportunity to learn, give them the tools, they can catch up quite quickly. So there are manufacturing companies here that do quite sophisticated manufacturing that have been able to get their workforce here to a similar level of productivity as their factories in Thailand very, very quickly. They've had to invest in the education, but they've been able to get them there. So that raw talent is there, and it might take some investment to get the outcomes that you're looking for, but people can get to where you want them to be. When ANZ Bank came here, which is over 15 years ago now, nearly 20 years, a lot of the senior staff initially were Cambodians that had been educated overseas and come back. And initially they were the stars. But then over time, once those that had been educated here were in the system, they caught up. And I think it's very much around investing in your workforce, giving people that ability to catch up that's really important.
So regarding education then, what do you think are the main ways that the private sector or even the public sector can contribute to this sort of development? Because of course we see a lot of higher education institutions here in Cambodia, but perhaps it's a little bit more about like the standards. So what do you think could be done to develop this?
Stop offering so many commerce degrees. Every uni student seems to want to do a commerce degree here, maybe so they can go and work in a bank. Cambodia needs more technical training. It needs really good educational institutions that train high-class mechanics, high-class electrical engineers, those types of things. That would help. For the private sector, that would be maybe at the tertiary level. I think at the kind of that middle school level, primary and secondary, you've got some world-class institutions here, like International School of Phnom Penh, Canadian International School. They're world-class. They're as good as you would get in any country in the region. And then you've got that kind of middle tier that supports, I guess, very much the middle class here, but it's more government investment into those government schools where, as a country, I think there needs to be the most focus.
Returning to your earlier point about the tourism industry offering perhaps the most promise potential for investors, if you had to assess Cambodia with its neighboring countries like Vietnam and Thailand, as we know recently, Vietnam also launched its online visa applications or expanded, to most countries in the world. Thailand has also kind of reduced visa restrictions for like Chinese visitors, for example. If you had to assess what Cambodia is doing right now in regard to visas and just tourism in general, how would you kind of assess that? What would you say the government is maybe doing right or wrong, and what more could be done?
I think sorting out the visa situation would be a big plus. So it's not a huge amount. It's $30, $25, but it's not so much the amount. It's more tourists look at, they're weighing up, do I go to Cambodia? Do I go to Vietnam? It's like, okay, I can just fly into Vietnam without a visa. I've got to get one for Cambodia. I'll do Vietnam. Right? It's an irritant for tourists, right? It's not so much the amount. It is part of the process that if tourists are weighing up equally Vietnam versus Cambodia, then they'll choose Vietnam. But I don't think that's the biggest issue. I think the issue is more the way that Cambodia gets marketed to the world. As I said earlier, it's got some amazing tourist products. I think having a tourist board with proper independent management, which I think the new minister is thinking about or looking at, I think can make a real difference in how Cambodia presents its tourist product to the world. And having a more diversified tourist base, not being too reliant on one country. At all costs, they should avoid that mistake again. I think they were heading down that path pre-COVID. They need to avoid that. They've really got to improve the coastal tourism product. So Sihanoukville should be a fantastic gateway to Cambodia's beaches and islands. And at the moment, it's a long way short of that. And it's going to take a long time for them to fix up what's gone wrong there. But that's future upside. Right? I don't think it can get worse than what it's been, but that's future upside that people can get excited about.
Okay, well, just for my very last question to kind of wrap things up, if you could give us your forecast for Cambodia in the long term, how do you see Cambodia positioned in the broader regional context, whether that's in the Mekong or just in Southeast Asia overall?
So we would, whether you're looking at 2040, 2050, if Cambodia is not the highest growing economy over that period, I would be surprised. And again, it's demographics that underwrite that. It is also, it's coming from a lower base. That helps. But that political stability, the investment in infrastructure, the location, it's got a market of nearly 100 million people on one side, over 60 million right next door. It's incredibly well placed to take advantage of all these things. And so over that period of time, if Cambodia is not the highest growth economy in ASEAN, it would be surprising to me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It was a great pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you for having me.
You've been with B2B Cambodia. Thanks for watching. Join us next time as we continue to bring you more news, updates, and developments from the business community in the Kingdom of Cambodia.